Good afternoon, all. On behalf of IoT Academy, we welcome you all for the first session of National Level Faculty Development Program on Teaching Pedagogy and Online Resources and Tools. Let me introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. Sandilyan Ramanujam. Dr. Sandilyan Ramanujam is currently working as a professor and dean, Tourism and Hospitality, C.V. Raman Global University, Odisha. He is a hospitality and tourism professional with industrial and academic experience. He has spent over 25 years in various sectors of hospitality and tourism and worked with some of the leading organizations in the hospitality industry, both in India and abroad. An alumnus of the prestigious Institute of Hotel Management, Kolkata, he began his journey with a Taj Group of hotels. Dr. Sandilyan has also completed 4 courses of executive education by EHL Hospitality Business School and is certified by EHL as a qualified learning facilitator. He has to his credit establishing Synergy Kitchens and Hospitality Limited and developing new products for a chain of cafes that operated on a checklist model. He has numerous consultancy projects and has also published numerous papers in national and international journals. We welcome you, sir. And with this, we hand over the session to Dr. Sandilyan. So, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction. At the first, I would like to congratulate IoT Academy and also say that I am honored to be part of this session. I can see a lot of learned colleagues who are there and who are attending this session. And let me just say here that this is going to be a session where I would like it to be very interactive, and also we will share some knowledge. It is not that it's going to be a one-way lecture or anything, and I welcome all the participants who have taken time. I am grateful that you have taken time to let's say share some of your knowledge as well as take some inputs from my side. Today, the session that we are going to be discussing about is teaching pedagogy and the approaches to teaching and learning. The subtopics include overview of this process, teaching learning process, and methodologies. So let us take a look at the session objectives first. Once you are through with this session, you will definitely be able to describe various terms and concepts of teaching pedagogy and its significance. You will also be able to discuss on the different learning styles and teaching styles. You may be able to even look at identifying your own learning style and see how it can be useful for your students. You will be able to definitely practice some of the approaches. When I say some, see, it depends depending on your audience and the level at which you are teaching. You need to have this ability to develop or decide on which pedagogy and which kind of approach you need to follow. And lastly, but not the least, you'll be able to elaborate on teaching learning methodologies, and maybe you'll be in a better position to apply your learning in your own way. So let's move on, madam. Yeah. So what exactly do you mean by pedagogy? Anyone can see here on the screen? I have shared a couple of 3 pictures are there. So what do you understand by these pictures? You can share your input on the chat box. Obviously, I cannot have everyone talking on the speaker at the same time. So you can share your thoughts on the chat box. I'll definitely be looking at it and I'll respond. So what do you understand by these pictures? 3 pictures which are there. Anyone wants to respond, please? See, Yeah, showing different areas like arts and science. Jagriti Singh, yes, thank you. You are very close. Curiosity from the first picture, excellent. Asha has suggested something. See, ideally, PEDA stands for child, and Goji is the art and science of teaching a child. So this slide is self-explanatory, where it stands to say that how we are going to use the arts and science to teach a child. Pedagogy is actually more about teaching children, but of course, in an adult education, which is more referred to as andragogy, but we are going to, generalize the term as pedagogy and look into it. You can also note there is a beautiful line which I have listed below. This is a famous company which talks about tutoring children, and it says that a tutor must elicit response that demonstrates understanding. So ideally, when you are teaching, whether it is in a classroom or whether it is at home or anywhere else, if you are teaching something and you do not take feedback from the student, the transfer of knowledge is not deemed to be complete. So once the student demonstrates understanding or is able to apply the learning in the expected fashion, then we can say that we have managed to deliver or we have taught successfully. So, madam, can we move on? Yeah. So here I have just written what is mentioned there. Pedagogy translates into art and science of teaching children. Art, correctly putting the theories into practice and building up on teaching experiences. So over here, I would like to highlight a couple of points. There are lots of theories on teaching learning process and how it should be done, how knowledge should be delivered. Irrespective of what theories are there, at the end of it, what matters is whether you have been able to transfer the knowledge. So if that is done, your process is correct. Whether it is following any particular theory or not is irrelevant. So if you are able to ensure that knowledge transfer is happening, and you find you are not following some standard theory or protocol, ignore it, because you are achieving the target. But why you should know this theory is generally knowledge of these theories will help you in designing your session and planning for your classes. The second point here is building up teaching experiences. So ideally, any teacher must be able to share their experiences in the class. Do not go and teach only from the textbook. That becomes very mundane and boring to the student because they can very well read it. Your presence there is to add value to the textbook and add value to the information already available to the student. So you need to add on to this value by sharing your experiences and building on those. The second aspect, the science, the knowledge of theories of learning and instructional strategies. Obviously, these are not totally useless because these are also scientifically developed based on years of research and studies. So this is a system which will help you to deliver your sessions in a best possible way. As I said, there is no single perfect theory. So yes, you may have differences, but try to incorporate until you can come out with a research which is provable that your idea is better than what is already documented. The best way to do is you follow some and keep improvising. So can we move on, madam? Yeah. So here you see I have just shared one interesting slide here. So the letter teach, T-E-A-C-H, it reflects, when you see the reflection, it reflects as learn. So ideally, that is where we are trying to connect. Teaching and learning happens simultaneously. The best way of learning is to teach somebody, and the best way of retention is of knowledge of any subject is if you can teach somebody. So I have put a question there. If you remember any teacher from your past who has inspired you, you can please put his or her name in the chat box. I'll give a quick minute for this. I want all participants to think and identify one or two such persons in their past, whether it is school or college. Yes, I have started getting some responses. Vidya has mentioned Geeta, ma'am. Some Tekemaran has mentioned Sir Ghosh. Femila Pangat has mentioned Mrs. Padma. Okay, I am unable to take all the names here, but yes, I am very happy to see that so many teachers have inspired you. Uh, can someone please say one reason why they have inspired you, or what is it that inspired you in this person? Whether it is Dr. Dharmendra or Dr. Surya Kala or Nagarkar sir, whoever. Why is it that they have inspired you? Okay, the way he taught and role model, her way of teaching, band handling students, or handling students. Okay, dedication and hard work, explanation quality, excellent. I am very happy to say that maybe if I put this question at the end of this session, I would be happy to see if many of you can put my name in the chat box. But moving on, madam, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So let us look at this here. What is it that we expect from a teacher? So this slide is explanatory, but I'll just mention one point here. When you enter a classroom and you deliver, see, each session is different, and the reception of a student of each session may be different. For a particular student who is interested in a particular subject, you may be doing an excellent session one day, and that session standard might be very low the very next day. It could be for various reasons, but let us look at the points which is mentioned here. An average teacher will tell about the subject. A good one goes further, he explains, he adds some examples and more on. A superior teacher demonstrates. He can show and explain both together, but the best one inspires. So when you want to be the best teacher, you must not just have knowledge of the subject, but you must have a lot of passion in you. You must believe in what you are saying, and you must be able to live or walk the road that you want your students to go. Believe me, when you can do that, you will find students will be like walking behind you. They will wait in front of your class. Even if you throw them out of the class, they will stand at the door listening to every word that you say, because it carries that much value to them. So this is what you need to develop. And in the coming slides, we will discuss exactly how we can do these things. Okay. Yes, I am very happy to see that, continuously people are explaining and sharing their points. Please keep on. And again, in this slide, you can see there is a quote which I have used here. A teacher is never a giver of truth. He is a guide, a pointer to the truth that each student must find for himself. What I want to say here is that the truth is not same for all the students. Each student will have a different truth depending on his knowledge, his abilities, his background, and his expectations. So you as a teacher do not have the role to tell them what is the truth. You just need to show them the direction in which they can find the truth, and this direction will also be different for each student. So if you cannot identify which is the direction you must point a student, then you will be failing him as a teacher. So you understand this, do not generalize, it has to be individual. Right, ma'am? We can move on. So what is the need for pedagogy, or what is the importance of pedagogy? It gives an improved quality of learning. Students will be more receptive in the session. They will pay more attention. You will be able to deliver better. Knowledge transfer will happen. There will be a development of higher cognitive skills. When I say that cognitive skills, it means related to their interactive skills, their way of working, teamwork, everything will improve. And yes, ma'am, we can move on. Yeah. So see, when you have a participative classroom, you can understand that the knowledge is being shared in a more receptive manner. There is something called outcome based learning. So you need to check and identify the outcomes. What is the objective of the sessions that you are going to conduct, and whether those are measurable. If your outcomes are measurable, the chances are you will be able to achieve better because you will be able to evaluate. If your outcomes are not measurable, then things will be little abstract. Engagement of learners will only happen when they find interest in the subject. So for the subjects to be kept interesting, the teacher must carry a lot of energy, passion, and information. I also mentioned here knowledge creation. If you are all in the teaching profession, so you must look into the Bloom's taxonomy of teaching pedagogy and the different levels. So the lower levels of Bloom's taxonomy, which talk about remembering and memory, recall, memory, these are not the areas where you should focus. The middle order ones, where they apply and analyze, is also one. You need to upgrade to that level, and finally you need to take the students to a level where they can evaluate or create knowledge. So once they are at the creation of knowledge, yes, their engagement and interest will be very strong. And of course, last but not the least, when a student achieves, and the one word, the student comes and says thank you, says it all for the teacher. The teacher does not bother about the money he has earned, the time he has spent, the hardship that has been put. That one single achievement of the student brings a deep satisfaction and a smile in the faces of many teachers of the nation. And so we are all a privileged category of people where we have this satisfaction coming to us. And maybe after going through such sessions, this can be magnified. So let's move on, madam. See, I have just explained what I have, written in the previous slide. A thoughtfully developed pedagogy improves the quality of teaching. Students are more receptive, and it improves their level of participation in the teaching learning process. You must learn to identify the appropriate pedagogy to impart education with different students. They may have mental abilities, physical abilities which are not the same, and for them to develop understanding will be different. Some fast learners, some average, some slow, some disinterested. So you have to find a way to engage all in a generalized way. Can we move on, ma'am? Yeah. So a correct approach is required for students with special abilities, and also students coming from different ethnical or underprivileged background. You need to encourage them to even at least come up and listen to you and have the confidence to say a couple of things. So If you can develop a proper teaching pedagogy with examples, then you can take the students, as I said, to higher level cognitive skills from the lower level, which is more of memorizing and remembering. If we take them step by step to the next level of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So, knowledge comprehension and application are lower order skills according to Bloom's taxonomy, and we need to guide the students from the lower order levels to the higher levels. This will also help in assessing the performance of the students. So we will also be able to ask the right questions and evaluate the answers given by the student whether it is in the right fashion or not. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. So here I have just shared very quickly. I want you all to go through this. The bottom two, that is remembering and understanding. These are the lower levels of learning as per Bloom's technology. Here, we expect the student just to memorize things or remember facts and basic concepts, and maybe just demonstrate whether they have understood the ideas. The middle level, which we say apply and analyze. When you take the student to that level, they are more involved. They start having the ability to apply what they have learned in practical situations. Sometimes when you take them to the next level of analysis, they are able to see out of a possible maybe three options which is the best one, and why they should choose one, not the other one. From there we need to take the student to the top two levels, that is evaluation and creation of new knowledge. So when you talk about evaluation of knowledge, that means they should be able to evaluate the performance of few other, let's say, peers or their juniors, and explain which is right, which is the better one, and they should also be able to make decisions based on their evaluation. And the last one is when they find that none of their available options are good, they should be able to generate a new path, a new way, or a new style of performance, which can be creation of a new knowledge or development of a new model or coming up with new theory. So, as per this taxonomy, most of the teachers, we understand that our education system is more focused on the bottom two. But as a teacher, if you can move the students to the middle and higher order levels, your classroom engagement and deliveries will become much more interesting and appropriate. So can we move on, madam? Yeah. Now let us look at what are the factors affecting the pedagogy or the teaching learning pedagogy, how we should look into it. So broadly, I have listed 5 factors here. The learning style of a student. We know there are different learning styles. There are visual learners, there are audio visual learners, there are read write learners, and there are kinesthetic learners. So yes, that has a major impact on what kind of pedagogy is to be chosen for teaching them. Also, the competence of the instructor. As a teacher, we believe we are doing our best, but continuously upgrading our knowledge and learning in every way we can helps us to improve our own sessions on a year to year or month to month or session to session basis. The more you become competent, the more confidence you have, the more knowledge you have on the subject, and the more you have practiced the different teaching pedagogies that you want to follow, you will be able to deliver the better in a classroom. Again, the third point here is availability of resources. Yes, a lot of external resources are available which can improve your teaching styles or teaching sessions. Availability of projectors, availability of OHPs, and maybe Wi-Fi in the classroom where you can use to show videos. Having multiple boards, and maybe having the option of taking a class outside the classroom. All these are additional features. If you have enough space for role plays and flexibility in the system, which provides you options to take students out on field trips or other things, all these can be helpful in more enhanced engagement of the students and a better delivery process. The educational system that you follow in your particular college, university, or whatever has a lot in enabling you to decide the right pedagogy. Many colleges are more focused on the curriculum and the delivery of the syllabus. It is more time bound, irrespective of whether student has understood this or not. It is more like, I want the students to score 95% and above. I want all students to pass. So these kind of limitations, yes.
So you can continue, sir. No, sir.
Yeah. So these kind of limitations are there in different educational systems, the different curriculums also. So all this will definitely have an effect on the pedagogy. And lastly, also very important is the field of study. There are lots of theoretical subjects where you have to talk based on the theoretical inputs, and subjects where you have a lot of practical applications can be more a mix of different pedagogies can be used here. So these are the basic different factors which affect the teaching learning pedagogy that needs to be used. Madam, move on. Yeah. Now quickly, I have already mentioned what are the different types of learners. There are visual, there are auditory, there are read write and kinesthetic learners, and there are also other types of learners. But if you can see, there is a link which I have shared there. It is a link which you can note down, you can visit. It has about 20 questions which you answer, and it will tell you what kind of a learner you are. So you can do this exercise yourself, or you can have your students also do this exercise and see, identify the learning trait of a student. So if you want, you can make a note of this link which I have shared here. There are a couple of other links also. It's a very interesting site, and it asks some very simple questions, but it can help you to understand a lot more about yourself. Usually you will find that most of the students are a mix of something, partly visual, partly auditory, partly kinesthetic, but the percentage will tell you what is the predominant nature of the student. Somebody who's got 40% visual, 30% auditory, and 30% kinesthetic is more of a visual learner. So that is the mix that you need to identify. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. So as I just said, there are some other learning styles also. So here you can see there is a mathematical or logical one, there is a social learner, there is a solitary learner. Please go ahead and test your learning style so that it will help you in deciding how you learn better, and then that will also help you to identify your students and work with them. Carry on, madam. Next slide. Yeah. See, I am just going to touch some of the major learning theories here. These would take maybe not just half an hour time to explain all this. I am not going to go into the depth of all these learning theories, but most of the learning theories are based on these four traits, that is behaviorism, cognitivism, humanism, and constructivism. You can see the different learning methodologies and theories which are associated. For behaviorism, we see direct instruction, programmed instruction, and social learning. For cognitivism, we have attribution theory, elaboration theory, cognitive development, and conditions of learning. Humanism is more based on experiential learning, and constructivism is social development theory or case studies, cognitive apprenticeship, putting this in practice, discovery learning, problem based or problem solving, situated learning, activated theory, or actor network theory. So all these are different things. You can go into a detailed study on all of these and get more inputs. Ma'am, can we move on? Yeah. So I have also shared for your benefit some of the major authors who have written about these theories. So you can look into those. Ivan Pavlov, John Watson, they have spoken a lot about behaviorism. Uh, Jerome Brunner, Lev Vygotsky, John Piaget, they have their theories on constructivism. Jerome Brunner has also shared his theory on cognitivism, and George Siemens and Stephen Downes have their inputs on connectivism and andragogy. Okay, so as I had told at the beginning of this session, when we talk about adult learning, we talk more about andragogy, but pedagogy is a common term which is used for this. You can see what are the key concepts that are associated with each of these theories. Some is a mix, you would find certain times there is a component which is there in both the theories, and how it is taken forward, and what is the role of the teacher. So when you look at it in behaviorism, the teacher generally creates a stimulus and response scenario. Whereas when you are looking at a constructivism, you create a dynamic learning environment where learners collaborate and they construct on the knowledge. There is a little bit of knowledge, they join together and develop on that. For cognitivism, we develop the optimized learning environment that minimizes cognitive loads and maximizes the learning. Connectivism enables and designs connections between learners. So it is more of teamwork, uh, interactive sessions, engagement, and madam, can we move on? Next slide, please, ma'am.
Just a second.
Yeah. Can we move on to the next slide? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Now I am coming to the second part of this session, that is, what are the approaches towards pedagogy? So we have the broadly 5 types of approach to pedagogy. There is a constructivist approach, there is a collaborative approach, a reflective approach, inquiry based, and integrative. Now, what is the broad thing here? Constructivist, you have certain inputs, you start building on those. Collaborative, a number of people collectively sit and work, and you share the information. Reflective, it could be, you give a situation, let the students reflect on those and come out with their ideas. Then you can either collaborate or use a constructivist session to develop the learning. Inquiry based is more on question answer type, where you are trying to find out on the unknown. Maybe it could also be used as a case study where you give a case and ask them to inquire into certain situations. And an integrative approach where you integrate the information from different sources or sessions and build on those. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. So here I have just explained briefly, what are the importance of each of these. So a constructive approach is more student centered. It builds on past knowledge. The instructor is more of a facilitator. They are not going to teach everything. The students learn by doing things, and it may not be very fast. The speed of learning would be dependent on how fast the students learn. A reflective approach is continuous assessment. The It's a model approach for the trainee teachers. It is based on outcomes and it involves timely reassessment. You have to continuously assess and align with the learning objectives. Because when you talk about reflection, the students can go into any way of thinking which may not have been planned by you. A collaborative approach involves teamwork. It pulls in different abilities of learners, helps in making a better team, helps in identifying the traits of or strengths of different students. Teachers and students may not work in the same team, they may work separately also. And it helps to use different teaching practices with different groups. So you can, use a collaborative approach and have different methodology for different set of students. An integrative approach is where you integrate the classroom with an outside world or with an earlier session or with some other thing where you can use knowledge gathered from some practical experimentation or from a field trip. It makes the curriculum more realistic and more reliable. Students can relate to certain things if you take them on a field trip and after that you integrate some of the information that they have gathered there with your session. It generates more interest. Mainly it can be also applied to science and mathematical subjects. For example, if you're teaching science and you take the students on a visit to a planetarium, and next session you are talking to them about astronomy and the different stars, it has a lot of easier understanding and your explanations would be more realistic. An inquiry-based approach is more student-centered. It excites curiosity in the students because they are going to be the leaders of the session. They are going to find out things. They start solving problems, and their involvement is much more. Can be 4 or 5 types. The confirmation, where they already have some information and they confirm it to be correct or wrong. Where it could be a structure type, so where they need to find out the structure, how it is to be done. Could be guided, where part of it is clear and part of it has to be shown. And it could be an open inquiry where nothing is clear and you can leave the findings to develop as the case keeps going on. Can we move on, madam? Okay, again over here I have 3 different articles and material for you all. You can take a note of these. These are all different works on pedagogy which you can read for further information on all the topics that I have discussed so far. All this is you can visit the journals or the sites. Please just Google this. You will have a lot of information there. So you can in your spare time, invest some of your time and learn what best you can. If you have taken this, I can move on, madam. Yeah. I am sharing here one example because we have a very constrained 1 hour session. So this is an example of how the strategy of collaborative learning, what could be the teaching methodologies and what could be the options. So you could, pair 2 students, think, and like-minded couple of them, you pair them and let them share their learning. There could be a team-based learning where you make teams and then they can join up as a discussion. You can have a catch-up session where each group work on their own and finally they sit together and catch up. A case study can be shared in groups, or a fishbowl debate, where you give some inputs and make teams where they debate amongst themselves to identify or come out with some new information or solution to a existing problem. So these are just some of the strategies. You can have many more. We'll move on, madam. Now again, I am going to put a very crucial point here. Please look at this slide very carefully. At the beginning of this session, I had said that the best way of retaining information is by teaching others. So you can see here in this slide, I have categorized into two parts: active learning process and passive learning. Mostly what teachers do in classrooms is by reading or lecture or audiovisual or demonstration. These are all passive learning where the learner is not doing much but just listening or following. So their retention is very low. Active learning are those kinds of teaching methods where the learner is actually involved, and you can see how the knowledge transfer or retention is jumping up. When you start a discussion, it's 50%. When they practice doing things, it's 75%. That is what we call learning by doing. And lastly, when they are involved in teaching others, when they lead sessions, it's 90%. So when we want to achieve 90% knowledge transfer or higher, we need to focus on the lower three methods of teaching, that is active learning process, rather than the traditional systems, which is passive learning. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. Now I am coming to some pedagogical skills which are very important. See, I listed 5 skills on the left side. Communication I listed as number 1 because you may be an excellent knowledge person of the subject, but as long as you cannot communicate it well, the results will not be there. You need to be able to adapt to situations. Your students come from a way different culture, upbringing, backgrounds. So if you are not able to adapt to their requirements, then you cannot be successful as a teacher. You need to be able to collaborate. You need to collaborate not only with other teachers, but with your students also. You must have that approachability where students are free to come and discuss or share their views with you. You must be inclusive. When I say inclusive, not have any barriers in terms of caste, gender, and other things. You must have nowadays, the social and diversional inclusion is a major topic on which a lot of research is being done. So when I say inclusivity, it is inclusive in every manner. There should be all the students at a similar level. You should not have differences in terms of color, caste, creed, sex, or other kinds of differentiation. And compassion. A teacher who does not have compassion will never be able to grow in his or her career. Students have their own problems. Some they may be able to share, some they may be unable to discuss. They may also face difficulties, and if you are not sympathetic with them, if you do not have that empathy to understand and help them, then they will build a barrier between you and the student. And on the right hand side now, if you look at the picture, this has put 10 different skills for modern day teachers. Organization. When it says organization, it's not what kind of an organization you are working in. It is organizing your work. So if you are planned and organized, every session you must prepare and plan for it. If you are not prepared for a session, don't take the session. Organize yourself. This is how your delivery should be. Only then you can be a good teacher. You need to prepare. Be well prepared. Go through the topic 2 or 3 times. Have some additional content, because sometimes the students may know all the things that you want to talk, and you have a 45 or 50-minute class, and in 10 minutes you are running out of content. Should not be there. Be committed. Be committed and be passionate in your work. Make sure that every session is the best session. You must try and make it interesting for all different types of learners. Try to be innovative, use the different innovative teaching methods. Today's modern teacher must be very friendly with technology. You must adapt new technology which is coming in, and if you see a student in the class with a laptop or a mobile, I am sure many of us would say put it back or don't use. But again, you see, it is the new generation where they get a lot of information on the mobiles, and they are very well connected to different sources of information. So if you are not technology savvy, if you are not able to understand, then you will cut a sorry figure. Tolerance is somewhat, again, inclusive of that inclusivity and compassion. Storytelling, you must be able to share a lot of your experiences in terms of stories, and in terms of making interesting small sessions or icebreakers for the student to keep focusing on the subject. Be ready for questions. uh, Appreciate and be always open to accept questions. Never say that don't ask stupid questions. Even the most silly question can be for the student very important. You must have your social abilities, be friendly, be approachable. And last point, which says geek. Geek is slang. Don't I generally don't use this, but yes, in the current generation, you have to be ready for all this also. Geek is a person who is having thorough knowledge, or who is extremely informed, well informed about the subject. So if you are going to teach something, try to be geek in your area. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. Now let us look at how you can improve your pedagogical skills. Review your student evaluations. Try to see how much they have understood, and if the knowledge transfer has not happened, then what could be the various reasons for it, how you could change the delivery to make the session more understandable or more meaningful for the students. What better can you do? Discuss these topics with your colleagues. You have had a session today. I am sure after this session is over, you may give me few questions, but I would be there for maybe 10-15 minutes. And after that, if you forget about this, you are not going to improve. You need to continuously be involved in the process. Talk to your friends, talk to others who are experts in the subject, attend professional conferences, attend such events as of this today. I have given some links for higher information on pedagogy. Please go through those. You can ask your individual colleges or universities to provide for additional training. We do conduct full-time workshops for 1 or 2 days or even 7 days as required, to help develop the teaching learning skills of teachers. Try to keep updated with new technology and gadgets. All these will help you to improve your sessions. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. Now, how best to use your pedagogical skills? So try to be a proactive communicator. Do not wait for students to communicate. Take the first step. Communicate with them. Ask them to share their problems, how you can help them. Be ready to help. Try out a mix of different teaching styles. Don't stick to any particular style. I need to show a presentation. It's not necessary. You can have the student show the presentation. You can involve them in discussions. You can make sure that the learning process is different every day. You can allow students to make or plan for their assignments. Make them into groups and ask them to design an assignment, and let them do those. Make your classrooms more inclusive, where every student feels that he is part of the class. Give them a lot of space. Let them be able to express themselves. Invite or encourage them to talk. Learn to identify the learning traits of students. Identify your own traits, and help your students to identify their traits. and provide sessions meeting those traits so that you can facilitate their learning in the best way. Don't be a teacher, be a facilitator who, or a guide. Remember the slide where Bruce Lee says, points to the truth, not tells the truth. So point out to the truth, let the student discover the truth for themselves. Yes, ma'am. Move on. Yeah. Here I have put out some of the innovative teaching methods. We have already discussed about few, but I am sharing some which are very much, in line with modern days education. Project-based learning, where students are given projects and they do. A flipped classroom, where the learning happens outside the class and the questions and answers are asked inside the class. So it is a reverse. Not that you take the session and ask the student to solve problems. You ask the student to study at home and then they come and solve the assignments in the classroom. So this can be a very useful way and it's a growing, method. You can use crosswords, quizzes, multiple choice questions. Experiential learning is one of the more growing trends today. Learning by doing. Activity based, as I said, active learning helps in more retention of the subject. Simulation based, virtual labs, blended learning where there is a combination of two or three methods, and of course case studies. I have not listed case studies here, but case studies can be for any of these methods. We could use case studies. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. So this is just a simple guideline. You set learning objectives, prepare and do the instruction delivery along with if there is any self-learning component, let it be there. Make sure the activities, the interactions, the exercises and practices are done. The evaluation must be against the objectives and feedback must be taken and it needs to go back to the first again, if the learning objectives are met, excellent. If not, what needs to be changed? And this needs to be repeated not just for each chapter, it could be for each topic, each lesson, depending on your system, whether it is a credit point or marks or whatever. And you need to repeat this for each and every lesson or topic in your subject. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. Now, I am sharing some noteworthy points. Every session you must start with some sort of a story or icebreaker which breaks the monotony of the class or brings the student back to life, because you never know what they were doing before, and if you do not quickly bring them back to be in a state where they are listening to you, then the session will not be meaningful. The introduction must be in, if you can see, again I have written there win. So when you start any session, there are three things that you need to consider: W, I and N. W stands for what? So what are you going to do today? The next thing is an interest. You have to generate the interest of the student in what you are going to do for the day. The interest, you can classify it. There could be something which is a professional need. There could be something which is a personal need. So if the student has or is convinced of information where there is both a personal as well as a professional need, they would be more likely to listen or do the session with interest. And the third part, need, as I said, it has to be both professional and personal. And the I, where you generate the interest for the student, say some short story or some interesting statistics or facts related to this. So every session starts with an introduction where you do a WIN. You must have a structured and planned delivery. Practice this before. Break down your entire session into steps, so that it is easy to explain. Let them practice the steps. You reinforce the information or stimulate and engage the students. And at the end of the session, ensure that you evaluate or summarize the session. If you see for this session, that is what I am doing. These are the main points which we started with and where we will be concluding also. This is more or less, a summary of the session. Can we move on, madam? Yeah. Keep your energy levels high. Be focused. Be passionate. Don't get predictable. Every class should not be very same. Don't think of doing a lot of different things, but do things differently. Be innovative and creative. Involve the students. Active learning more useful, and have the students to lead different sessions. Let them feel that they are the ones who are delivering. They are involved. They are the people who are achieving. So your achievement will come automatically. Next, ma'am. Yes. So as I said, be yourself, be honest, be passionate, have that feeling and zeal in you for every class. Accept your limitations and try to work on them. It's a teaching learning process. Remember the slide, teach which reflects as learn. So when you're teaching, you're also learning. So learn from students, acknowledge, and I would say rather celebrate the achievements. Whenever a student gives a answer, applaud, appreciate. Keep yourself updated with constant research. Practice and read more. Prepare for each session as though it is your first session, and always be ready for unexpected things to happen. However much prepared you are, there may be situations which you are not planned for, which not expected. So be ready to handle those. Have some, they say there is a saying, keep an ace up your sleeve. There are 4 or 5 aces should be there up a teacher's sleeve. You should always remember that you should stay a step or two ahead of all your students, because keeping ahead is what will keep the students expecting more from you. And as long as you can feed their expectations and you can keep giving them some light towards their direction, they will always have that respect and love for you. And if you remember at the beginning, I said one teacher who inspired you, it is not because of what knowledge he had or she had. It is not because of how well he explained or she explained some subject. It is because they were passionate about their subject and they did what you expected from them, giving you their inputs in an honest and sincere fashion, and they cared for you. They had the passion, they had the compassion for you, and they treated you in the right way, which is why they inspired you. You wanted to be like them. So remember that what you expected in your teacher or what you saw in them, there will be a lot of students who will be looking at the similar things in you. So you also have to plan and keep your inputs, your sessions, and your behavior in the same way that you can inspire the next generation and take the next generation to the best level possible, as is expected from teachers in our country. So with this, I come to the close of my session, and we are open. So please share your questions. I am happy to take some of the questions which are there.
The session is open for discussion now. You can unmute and interact with the resource person, or you can post your questions in the chat box also. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Respected sir,
Yes,
I have a question, sir.
please.
According to outcome-based education,
Yes,
they have classified the students into 3 categories.
yes,
One is surface learners, achievers, and deep learners.
yes,
So surface learners will learn for a pass mark, and achievers will work for achievements like
yeah,
recognition. And deep learners will don't care about the mark, and they will work for the knowledge.
Okay.
So nowadays, when we are entering the classrooms,
Hmm.
we are not finding the three categories mostly. We are finding one more category of students in the classroom.
Hmm.
They are not willing. They are not even working for their pass mark too.
Okay.
How come a teacher can change this fourth category into this three category?
Okay. Good question. And see, I'll try and explain what I do in the class. But again, it is what I do may not actually be the right answer for you, but you can take some points there. Okay. So first thing is, see, if the students are there, as you said, the fourth category who are not at all interested in the subject, they are just there. Maybe, see, I'll tell you, I have got such students in my class. When I ask them why you have come, so they have come from certain states. I am not going to name the state, but the boy said, "Sir, actually, if I get this certificate, my dowry rate will become high in my area. So right now, as an undergraduate, I can claim only maybe 3 lakhs of dowry. But if I get graduation and I have a degree, then I'll be paid 8 to 10 lakhs. So now it's a very incredible situation. What do you do with such a guy? Whether you are going to tell him stay out of my class, he doesn't bother. So for these category of students, the best option is fear. Put you start asking questions in the class, ask them to answer, point them out and make them answer. When they are not able to answer, you make them sit with some of the better students in the class and give them the responsibility of you make them into groups. First of all, you ensure that they are split in different places. If they are together, they will cause more trouble. Divide them, make them do work, and you straight away at times ask for their parents numbers and call them right in the class. So you do it with one student, others will have that fear that he might call my father, so they will at least come to that level, as you say, to at least score the pass mark. So these are some options, but not necessarily the best options. You have to see the student, and also I would say that you have to make your sessions more interesting. Try to involve them in situations where they will feel happy to contribute. Sometimes you can make them leaders in the session. Ask them to relate examples which they have come across. It could be you have to lower your expectations from those people so that you can bring the class to their standard and then take them to the next level. So I hope I have been able to give you some inputs.
Thank you very much, sir. You have given a informative information to this to me, sir. I will try my level best, sir. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, definitely. Yes.
Wanted to know
Excellent, sir.
about
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Can you give your
want,
contact number, sir?
I can definitely. I think they will share it.
we will be sharing some. So wanted to know about general objective and specific objective.
Uh, can you repeat that? You wanted to know about general and specific objective.
Yes, sir.
Okay, madam, if you see the second slide for this session I had, you can just show the slide, madam, if you can. My presentation. Can you show the slide once?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the second slide, madam. Go to the second slide where I have mentioned the objectives. See, these are specific objectives. If you look at examples, these are specific objectives. Now, when you say what are general objectives, yes, general objectives is, they will be able to behave well. They will be able to communicate better in the groups, they would be able to have a more alignment with their team. They would respond well to situations. They would be able to perform better in interviews. These could all be general objectives. Okay. For this session, I would say that you could have improved your communication skill. That is a general objective. You could improve your understanding about classroom delivery. That is a general objective. But specific means that is measurable. If you see the objectives, if I ask you questions on each of those points, I am sure you will be able to respond. So that is the specific objective. Is that clear, madam?
Any other queries? You can post your queries in chat box also.
Yeah,
Any other
Renu
queries?
Thakur, yes, you can please unmute yourself and say, what is your question?
हेलो नमस्ते सर
Yeah, namaste, madam. Please tell me.
सर मैं आई आस्क इन हिंदी
या आप हिंदी में पूछिए, कोई बात नहीं.
सर I have to ask a question about college students. How
Yeah,
to
please.
teach them?
How
सर,
to?
आजकल के how to teach them? मतलब सर आजकल के जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो यही सोचते हैं सिर्फ कि सिर्फ 20 क्वेश्चन पढ़ के वो पास हो जाएंगे तो कॉलेज
हाँ.
जाने की जरूरत नहीं, क्लासेस अटेंड करने की जरूरत नहीं है. तो
हाँ, मैडम.
हम जो टीचर्स हैं, प्रोफेसर हैं, उनको पढ़ाने के लिए डेली तैयारी करने जाते हैं, इतनी मेहनत
हाँ.
करके इस पोस्ट पे आए हैं
हाँ.
और तो फिर सोचते हैं कि कॉलेज बना ही क्यों है, कॉलेज लाइफ की क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है, क्या है.
ये एक्चुअली क्या है, ये आपकी गलती नहीं है, ये आपके कॉलेज और आपके एजुकेशन सिस्टम की गलती है. ठीक है, ये आप अकेले सुधार नहीं सकते हैं, लेकिन मैं ये सजेस्ट करूंगा कि आपके कॉलेज के जितने भी टीचर्स हैं, आप लोग मिलके अपने मैनेजमेंट को बोलिए कि अपना एजुकेशन सिस्टम को ठीक करें, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली आप लोगों का कर्तव्य ये है कि आप बच्चों को अच्छा शिक्षा दें. अगर बच्चे पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहते हैं और वो खाली 20 क्वेश्चन चाहते हैं और आपका मैनेजमेंट भी आपको इसी चीज में फोर्स करता है कि आप उनको 20 क्वेश्चन दे दो, तो आप कभी अच्छा पढ़ा नहीं पाएंगे और बच्चे को जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ेगा. तो ये तो एक्चुअली टीचिंग पेडागोजी के ऊपर कोई सवाल ही नहीं है, ये आपका एजुकेशन सिस्टम के ऊपर सवाल है. ये आपको अपने मैनेजमेंट को ठीक करना पड़ेगा.
सर कॉलेज मैनेजमेंट ऐसे किसी चीज के लिए फोर्स नहीं करता है, बस स्टूडेंट्स की थॉट बन गई है कि कॉलेज जाने की क्या जरूरत है, 20 क्वेश्चन पढ़ के तो पास हो ही जाते हैं.
देखिए, आपका अगर एग्जाम सिस्टम, इवैल्यूएशन सिस्टम सही है, जहां बच्चा 20 क्वेश्चंस के बाहर ना सीखा तो वो पास हो जाता है, तो ये आपका इवैल्यूएशन सिस्टम और मैनेजमेंट का ही प्रॉब्लम है मैडम. इतना इजी कैसे हो सकता है? अगर कोई भी सब्जेक्ट खाली 20 क्वेश्चन का नॉलेज आने से क्लियर हो जाता है कोई बच्चा, तो फिर कोई पढ़ाई नहीं करेगा.
जी सर, मोस्टली तो अभी तक ऐसा ही होता आया है,
तो
इसलिए
ये गलत है ना मैडम, ये सिस्टम की गलती है. तो बच्चे को
हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम.
हाँ, बच्चे को जैसे आप सुविधा दोगे वो उतना ही लेगा. आप स्टूडेंट को बोलोगे आने का जरूरत नहीं है, आप 20 क्वेश्चन याद कर लो, आप पास हो जाओगे, तो वो वैसे ही चला जाएगा.
हम नहीं कहते, हम तो पोस्ट करते हैं उनको कि आप क्लास आइए, हम आपको समझाएंगे जो भी
मैं आपकी
टॉपिक
बात
है.
नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैडम, ये सिस्टम की बात कर रहा हूँ. आपका सिस्टम अगर इतना इजी है कि कोई भी बच्चा, आप कौन से मतलब सब्जेक्ट्स में पढ़ाते हैं मैडम?
सर पॉलिटिकल साइंस.
पॉलिटिकल साइंस. क्या आपको लगता है कि ये सब्जेक्ट में 20 क्वेश्चन याद करने से बच्चे का नॉलेज ठीक हो जाएगा?
सर बिल्कुल भी नहीं, इसलिए तो मैं इस चीज के अगेंस्ट हूँ.
वो बच्चे को ये 20 क्वेश्चन मिलता कहाँ से है?
सर मार्केट से खरीद के ले आते. कल ही मुझे एक स्टूडेंट दिखा रहे थे, मैम की क्या ये सफिशिएंट होगा पास होने के लिए. मैं सिर्फ
नहीं, ये मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ मैडम, ये पॉलिटिकल साइंस ये सब जैसा सब्जेक्ट्स है, दीज आर मोर थ्योरी बेस्ड. तो इसमें आपको थोड़ा प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम्पल्स लेके उनको केस स्टडीज के ऊपर टीच करना पड़ेगा. अगर आप उनको सिचुएशन देख के उस पे आप सोचिए, उनको आप करवाइए, आप मतलब जैसे कोई इलेक्शन हो रहा है और अलग अलग पार्टी को के हिसाब से उनको डिवाइड कर दीजिए, उनको अपना प्रचार करने दीजिए और राजनीति सिखाइए. ये सारा चीज वो अगर करेंगे इन्वॉल्व होके ना, तब शायद उनको इंटरेस्ट आएगा. आप अगर सब्जेक्ट के हिसाब से पढ़ाएंगे तो शायद वो उतना इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेंगे, वो खाली क्वेश्चन ही पूछेंगे. कि ये मिल जाएगा तो हम पास हो जाएंगे. ट्राई करके देखिए.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a good idea. Very good idea. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Any other questions?
Any other queries?
Hello,
Jacqueline?
good evening, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Good evening.
Yes,
Jagmeet,
sir.
please tell me.
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to know that when we are talking about different methods and different strategies that has to be used in today's era
Yeah.
to involve students' participation in the classroom.
Hmm.
But the major issues comes when we have to complete the syllabus on the time and we have very shortage of time. How to deal with such situation?
Okay, madam. This is a very simple point. Tell me one thing. The syllabus that is there, what part of the syllabus actually you really feel you need to teach? How much portion of the syllabus you need to teach you feel? If the syllabus 100% you need to teach, or
No, sir.
I would say that in any syllabus, there is a lot of scope for self-learning.
Okay,
So
sir.
you have to plan your sessions in such a way that, let's say, you get 15 hours a week and maybe 60 hours. I'll be even reduced 50 hours for the whole semester. You have to ensure that 1/3 of your syllabus is by self-learning, where you would only question them in class and those subjects are completed. 1/3 would be on projects and activities where the students would be, working, and they will share their knowledge. The balance 1/3 would be what you would be teaching. So if you can actually mix up the entire thing in a very proper manner, I think you will be able to do better justice to the subject as well as the development of the students.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you
Sure.
for your valuable. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Someone else, I think, raised hands. I don't know. Yeah. If somebody else has a question, Vidya or somebody raised her hand. I'm not sure.
Any
Okay.
other queries?
I think I'm not seeing any more questions, madam.
I think there are no more queries. So shall we wind up, sir?
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
On behalf of IoT Academy, we thank Dr. Santilin Ramanujam for the informative, interactive, enlightening, and enriching session. We thank you once again for the excellent and amazing presentation, sir. And we thank you for enhancing our knowledge with a commendable presentation. We thank you very much for your effort, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for all the people who participated and attended in a very interactive way. And it's my pleasure to have been there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. It was an amazing session, sir. We thank you very much for your effort, sir. Thank
Sure.
you, sir. I thank all the participants for joining the session today. Kindly submit the feedback form using the link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you all. Have a great day.